I didn't even fucking talk about the best thing, torch management and light. Oh my God.
Save it.
I didn't talk about the best area in any Souls game, Dead Man's Wharf from Dark Souls 2. Oh my God.
In Elden Ring?
No.
Oh, okay, I was like, what? I didn't realize they had like direct connections. Heck yeah.
There's, I mean, the rats look exactly the same. The rats.
Yeah. The rats of Nim. Hey, everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with John Hines.
Hey there.
And Randall Nolery.
Hey, folks.
And we tried to rope DJ in for this one. We teased it a little bit last week, but it was there was a fleeting moment where we were all going to get back together, and it's just hopefully it will come to fruition again, because I know that John's going to be digging into Elden Ring. I think when we talked about it last time, John, that you said, like, I think on the episode you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to play it, and then all of a sudden we were like, oh, wait, it's on PS4? I can play it on my PS4?
I think
I didn't realize it was on PS4.
Literally the next day, I think we hung out with DJ in person, and he's like, I'm pretty sure you can download it on, like, I think I bought it digitally, so, like, you can just download it on PS4.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah. Like, that was the whole...
That's even better. That's amazing.
Right. Yeah, so it was just kind of like, because John still got DJ's PS4, so just kind of like on the shared account or whatever.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, didn't even have to buy a second copy. He had it on PS5, and you can still download it on PS4.
That's sick.
It's wild. But that's awesome. A teaser, because right now, we're going to talk about some Kirby.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I before we get into the latest Kirby game, or I guess before we talk about Kirby in the Forgotten Land, like what were your guys' like level of expectation or hype going into this one? Because I would say, like, for me, because I'm a pretty big Kirby fan going into this, like, I've enjoyed many of the like mainline games, the spin-offs and whatnot. And then when this one got announced, I was very, very excited about this one as well. And I would just say, like, yeah, I was just mostly pretty pumped for it, like really looking forward to it. But these days, I feel like games just come and go so quickly. Like, we were talking about this with our buddy Mikey the other day, just kind of like, oh, this game's brand new. And now it's like, there's already another brand new game that I'm playing or interested in or whatever. So it's like, I don't know. But yeah, I went into this like really anticipating it, but with like a weird level of like, I bought it, but it wasn't like, oh, I popped it in right away and started playing it. I like waited a few days and played it. But yeah, I don't know. I was super pumped. But where were you guys coming into this one? And where's your like Kirby fandom at coming into this game?
So me, I was very much excited about this. I was the one of the three of us that downloaded the demo just because I wanted at this so quickly, and I heard there was like, oh, you get some like codes or whatever if you complete the demo, and I'm like, I'm just so excited from what I saw of the Nintendo Direct thing, which these days, like, life's a little busier. I don't catch every Nintendo Direct, but I did catch the Nintendo Direct when Kirby in the Forgotten Land was announced, and I'm like, oh my God, this looks right up my alley. And then played the demo, and it was right up my alley. So then from that, and I pre-ordered the game with some remaining credit I had from selling my too loud PS4 Pro, and like just waited until it showed up at my house, and then I started playing it the night that it arrived, which was annoyingly not until a few nights after it had officially released. But then I started playing it.
Interesting. Yeah, I think part of it got thrown off for me because I pre-ordered it as well after you had like talked about, oh, the demo's awesome, and like once the demo dropped, I was like, okay, I can't like not play the Kirby game when it comes out.
Yes.
But then I was like, it came out on like during the time that I was back home on my Michigan trip, so I like rescheduled like when it was supposed to arrive, and then it arrived early, and I was like, oh shit, somebody's gonna steal it out of the vestibule in my building. But thankfully they actually like somehow Amazon got into my mailbox, so I don't really know how that happened, but anyways, it was there waiting for me. But yeah, because it was like I didn't catch like that very first wave of like, oh, the day one, and I was busy like catching up on things when I got back home. I didn't start playing it right away, but then once people were, I kind of went into the game thinking it was going to be more like maybe Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild inspired, like with like a more of an open world approach, just based on like the little bit that they teased of the game, and just kind of like, in my mind, it was just like, oh, they're just kind of giving every franchise that treatment, if you will, if they can. because Odyssey felt very inspired by Breath of the Wild. So I was kind of pleasantly surprised once our buddy Cardboard Moon was talking about in the Discord, it's kind of more like a 3D world or 3D land vibes where it's like a more like linear level based thing. So I was really excited to dive in once I heard that was the case, like even more than I was before. But what about you, John? Where were you at on the level of excitement? You might even be the biggest Kirby fan of all of us, although we're all big Kirby fans. So
I think it's interesting because I do feel like I've played probably the most Kirby games and completed the most Kirby games out of all of us.
Oh yeah.
But like, I was surprisingly not very like excited for the game when it was announced or even when it came out. Like I went and got it day one. But then I also there was a fun little thing where the person who gave it to me, like also like just reached behind them and grabbed a copy and gave it to me. And as I had checked out and left, and I was like, you know what if I just accidentally got Star Allies a second time?
Oh.
And I checked in my bag, and I sure enough they gave me a copy of Star Allies because they've always had copies of Star Allies, so I had to go back in and exchange it for Kirby.
Hey, at least you caught it before you made it all the way home.
I know,
horrible.
You know? Like I was just so paranoid because I was like, I didn't. Like, it was put in my bag, like, right from I didn't see it, like, just got to double check. And I was glad I did because, I didn't want to own 2 copies of Kirby Star Allies.
No.
But like, my relationship with the mainline Kirby series has been kind of lukewarm as of late because, Star Allies was an enjoyable game. And like,
which I didn't even get, so I'm like sitting here like, I'm a pretty big Kirby fan. I was juiced for this game, but I didn't even get Star Allies. I was like, it's another 2D Kirby. Okay, and I've loved most of the 2D Kirbys that I've played.
And like, it was kind of an every other game, honestly, for me. Whereas like, I really loved like Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, and then I didn't really care that much for Squeak Squad. And then I
liked Squeak Squad a lot, but it is like pretty basic and straightforward, but it's just got a lot of style and personality.
And then I loved Return to Dreamland. That was probably my most favorite like of the series up to that point. And then like I was pretty lukewarm on Kirby Triple Deluxe, and then like I loved Planet Robobot, and then again I was kind of lukewarm on Star Allies. So like it wasn't that I wasn't necessarily like not looking forward to a new Kirby game, but I was like, they do try to do big swings with every new Kirby game, or like try to incorporate like a gimmick that is only going to be used in one game, and then like kind of move on from that. And I was like, okay, it's kind of hit or miss on whether that's going to be a great mechanic or just a fine one. And like I think Kirby is all like overall, like I don't think there's a bad Kirby game. I think
they're all just like pure fun and like a joy to play for the most part.
And like they aren't like, they don't stay excessively long. Like it's pretty standard, like fair for everyone. But like, after, every other game being like, I'm not really into like Triple Deluxe, or I'm not really into Star Allies, I was like, okay, I'm going to wait and see. I'm not going to like get super hyped for this game. I'm just going to wait until I play it and, probably have a decent time with it. So like that's the mindset, at least I went into the game.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, too, because, like, I know you rattled off a ton of, like, the mainline games, but even, like, a lot of the spin-off games for Kirby, like, there are some that have been more, like, spin-offs, like, that are, like, maybe more, like, Tilt and Tumble, or more like, or even, like, Kirby's Dream Course, like, that are more, like, kind of almost like mini game-esque, or like
it's one-off ideas with a Kirby theme
like
on top of
Kirby
it,
theme, but then like some of them though, like Mass Attack or Kirby's,
that's the one I was gonna bring up,
or Canvas Curse or Rainbow Curse or Epic Yarn, like all those games are like full-blown like Kirby campaigns, but with like kind of like a weird gimmick strapped onto them. And like I've actually never played Rainbow Curse just because I never got around to picking that up on my Wii U, but like
I played it honestly, a little bit. It's pretty, but it's weird because you have to like look at the gamepad, which is not as nearly of a pretty screen as your TV likely is. So
right at the very, that's one that would be nice to even just have on the Switch. Like again, just to be at least you could play it on the OLED or whatever and be like, oh, this looks nice.
Right.
Because I remember thinking that like, oh man, it's like a shame that like this gorgeous like almost like claymation looking art style almost goes to waste. Not goes to waste, but. Kind of. But like those are some of my favorite Kirby games. I think Kirby's Epic Yarn would the Canvas Curse and Epic Yarn. I think Epic Yarn would probably be my favorite, but yeah, Epic or Canvas Curse on the DS is like incredible. Like that game is just like an adventure. It's one of the harder Kirby games too. Like a lot of the spin-off Kirby games are some of the tougher games. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of went into this one again, like I mentioned, I kind of was thinking they were maybe going to have like this open world Mario Odyssey vibe, especially because like the new kind of gimmick in this game in Kirby and the Forgotten Land is like you can kind of swallow these like huge obstacles and like, you know, that kind of becomes your power up. And it really reminded me of like the Cappy mechanic in Mario Odyssey of like throwing to become this like Moai statue or become this Bullet Bill or whatever. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is just. They're just seeing how far they can take it with the Kirby formula. But then again, when people were starting to say, oh, no, it's like a little more linear in a multitude of ways, not just like each individual level, but even the structure of the game is just kind of like overworld map, select the levels, progress along, kind of old school style, which I really liked. I mean, it's new school style in the sense that there's like a bunch of side missions that you can go off and do. It's not like just one kind of giant overworld map. Right. Which I would say that's maybe one of my like smaller gripes is like, it kind of took me out of the flow of the game. I kind of wanted to just like keep playing level through level, but I really did enjoy the way this game was put together. I have kind of mixed feelings about it because I like from start to finish, I've played through the whole game. I've seen credits. I haven't like 100%ed the game or anything like that. And I don't know how like spoilery we want to get, but I won't get into anything like that right off the bat. But I mostly kind of like, while I was playing, every session that I played, like every 2-3 hour bit that I sat down and played the game, had a great time. Like loved the ride I was on, but it kind of just feels like this like kind of forgettable ride that you're just kind of on, you play through it, and I might even like go through and play it again to do all the extra challenges because each stage is kind of like broken up. Yeah, there's like a linear like just get to the end of the stage, that's like your main goal, but then there's like a few hidden like Waddle Dees on each stage, and there's just like a series of different objectives, usually like 5 or 6. I think there's 5 different objectives on each stage
typically.
Mostly
if I'm not mistaken. And they range from like even the number of Waddle Dees, like sometimes there's 2 or like 2 or 3, sometimes there's like 5. The hidden ones on the stage, and it's like I do like I don't know. It's some of them are like very obvious. Okay, you have to rescue the Waddle Dees, but some of them are like if you find it while you're playing the level, then cool, you found it. But if not, you really like don't know. You just kind of know. Okay, I got to explore this level some more.
Which I didn't have a problem with.
I didn't either, especially because it wasn't broken up in a way where like you have to find a ton of secrets. Like it felt like you can pretty much plow along and beat the levels, and whatever you find along the way, you're still going to unlock the main path and be able to get to the boss. It wasn't like, oh, you really got to go back and comb for stuff.
Right.
But I did find that like just going back to even like one of the new, at least for me, this was new. Maybe it's in other Kirby games that I'm unaware of, but like you can upgrade each of the individual abilities along the way by like getting these extra like star currency things that you have to like do these separate side missions to get. For the most part, you can find them here and there, but that was like kind of the one thing I was like, man, I kind of need to upgrade these, but I kind of just want to keep playing the main story stuff. But like, I pretty much had a great time. Like, I don't have much negative to say about the game, but it's also like kind of forgettable. I don't know how to say it. Like, it felt like it was just like a giant set piece of a video game. Like that, like every level, every scene was just like, boom, boom. Oh, this is cool. This is cool. But I don't think it'll have that impact when I go and like replay the stages and stuff.
That is exactly how I felt about like Triple Deluxe and Star Allies, is that they're like beautiful games, tons of fun to play, but like,
and this game's gorgeous,
but they're just missing something. And like, it's like, I really think it's just like a personal preference thing. Like, I don't know why I love Planet Robobot so much more than Star Allies. Like, I don't think that there's like a huge gap in like, because I think that I love about all Kirby games is I think that like the puzzles themselves and the level design is so fun and like so like inventive. Yeah. And I love when I see a puzzle, like there was when the first time I did one of the like sections that was like beyond the, like the car is the first like a power up that they like throw at you is like, oh,
like
this
the
is
mouthful or whatever
right,
it's
mouthful
called.
mode.
Yeah.
And like one of the like next puzzles or like the next mouthful mode that I had after that, like it gives you like the environment, and I'm like, I bet that this is a puzzle, and then you try it, and it is absolutely like, it's not like explicit, but it gives you just enough. Like the way that Kirby games present puzzles to you is really satisfying in terms of like a difficulty curve, I think, where they'll be like, it's just hidden enough for you that when you solve it, like when you like try something out and you're rewarded with the solution, is like, yep, you figured it out. And like that is such a strength, I think, in every Kirby game. And like I don't necessarily think that that's like wildly different in the games that like I kind of bounce off of, but I just think that there's something in either the mechanics or in the gimmicks or the like presentation, even like, because this is kind of all in like a post-apocalyptic world, so like it has like, even though it's very much still a Kirby game
and it's very colorful, friendly, and bright,
I love that juxtaposition personally. I think it's really interesting.
It looks great, but like for some reason, like it just like, I don't know, like when I think of Kirby 64 or when I think of Return to Dreamland, like I have vivid memories that I can tie back to and like think as like, yeah, I loved these worlds, I loved these puzzles, I loved everything about that. And I'm like, there's not really anything that these games that I don't resonate with that are necessarily missing, or is even like not necessarily like worse. I just think that it's some, it doesn't land with me, and maybe the next one will.
Yeah. What about you, Randall?
Wowie. Okay.
And by the way, did you beat the game as well, John? Like, have you seen credits roll and everything?
No, and I was kind of saving this as a transition, because basically the second I got Elden Ring access to Elden Ring, I just dropped this game like a hot potato.
Yep.
Beautiful. Yep. Well, we'll get to that shortly, but yeah, what are your thoughts on the Kirby situation?
I will
Randall?
echo that sentiment, but that says more about Elden Ring than it does about Kirby in my experience.
Nice.
I just couldn't stop playing Elden Ring, but we're not talking about Elden Ring.
Yeah, but that's a good thing too. Yeah, getting sucked from one good game to another, and I do want to be clear, like at least for me, like I know I said I came off kind of negative on Kirby, like I overall like had a great time with the game.
Oh yeah, same. So, and I fully expect to go back and beat it, but yeah.
Cool. I've had a little bit of history with Kirby as well, not as extensive as John's, although I think I own most of those games. I just haven't had a chance to play most of them, but I love
They're all good.
They are all good, ultimately. Like Kirby's Adventure, loved it like since I was literally a kid, and that game's still incredible, I think.
Yes.
Dreamland 2, I think, is great. Return to Dreamland, as you've mentioned a few times, is excellent. That was Wii, I believe, right?
Yeah.
I never played that one either. That's another one I haven't played.
Yeah.
It's so good. Return to Dreamland is such a good
game. Okay,
then,
I got to add that to the list.
Epic Yarn, like Kevin mentioned, is also excellent.
Yeah, one of the best game soundtracks ever.
Oh, yeah, and just like the aesthetics of that game, the vibes of that game, they just nailed it.
Yeah.
I really liked this game too, though. To me, this is right up what I want Kirby to be. It's right up my alley. I love the like forced perspective of the level design. But then like I love games like Gauntlet Legends and Dark Legacy and stuff, which is very much that. Yeah. Like that's right. Like they're pushing my buttons in particular with this sort of stuff. And then there's like little secrets off to the side because, that kind of looks like, maybe I can walk over here. Oh shit. Yeah. That's another separate area. There's a secret Waddle Dee or whatever. Like I'm such a sucker for that stuff. You had brought up, Kevin, 3D Land, Super Mario 3D Land, and it definitely gave me or Galaxy kind of gives me a little bit of those vibes as far as like mostly we're kind of in 3D space, but it's more like limited corridor 3D space. And I think that's just like a sweet spot for me that I like with these sort of games.
Also, Like,
yeah,
we've not really even mentioned it, but like the way that Kirby just controls in 3D is seamless. Like,
it is seamless.
Yeah.
Totally seamless.
It doesn't feel any different, honestly, from any other Kirby game, which is unbelievable.
That is unbelievable.
The only thing that I noticed that they had to like kind of like change or conceit was just like certain levels, like the way that it would just like not let you fly above a certain like invisible ceiling. Which it makes sense for just the conceit of like the level design.
Yeah, I kind of like that because then it forced you to like, okay, let's find higher ground first.
Yeah, I got to find the ladder. Like I have to actually climb up. Like it actually made the level design matter a little bit more.
But that's they've done that in other games. Like in Kirby 64, what they did was they gave you a stamina on your flight. So after you were airborne for a while, like Kirby just like ran out of air and like started panicking and like fell down. So like they've messed with that before, and it's always
that's how this one kind of is too. You do like lose steam over time. You're not able to fly for all that long.
It's such a great
played
a really good game.
It is. Like I played co-op with Tina a little bit too.
I was gonna ask,
yeah. So she got to play as they set you up as a Waddle Dee with the spear,
spear Waddle Dee.
And is that all you get, or are you able to do anything with the copying of abilities with that Waddle Dee, or is it just strictly kind of like a partner in crime?
Strictly a partner in crime, but it totally works fine. Like that Waddle Dee has its own abilities that Kirby doesn't have. Like it can you know, it's got the spear. It has this kind of flying, hovering maneuver with the spear where it's like, you know, moving it around and around and around like a helicopter or something. And then like little spears are like shooting down if you're like charged it up or whatever. So like lots of cool little abilities that way, playing 2-player. Yeah, like the bonus star levels, which we kind of like glossed over, the treasure road levels, you know, add a little bit more challenge, I think, than the regular levels do when you get those bonus stars that you have to use to upgrade abilities. I didn't mind the upgrading abilities. I thought it gave you like 3 separate versions typically of a given Kirby ability, which I thought was fun because that kind of varied up how it felt every time. I even used my Kirby and DDD amiibos too to like unlock stuff in the town. So, you know, lots of stuff like that. But yeah, for me, I'm like, oh no, this Kirby vibes with me and I vibe with it. And it like, it's just vibes. It was the perfect, like, take it easy for the most part game to match with something like Elden Ring in my experience.
Yeah, it was definitely a great game. And there were a few like that, like the bosses they have a little bit of like, I mean, they're obviously not as hard as like Elden Ring or Dark Souls bosses, but like, and I guess always Kirby bosses have been like massive and whatever, but I thought that translated really cool into 3D. Like it felt really awesome. Like seeing like, even like the take on like the wispy woods. Like I think it was a totally different boss, but it was like, you're like kind of in, it was more like a tropical tree. Yeah. It was just, it was cool. I don't know. I thought there were some pretty cool boss battles, which I guess a lot of Kirby games have cool boss battles, but I just the way they translated into 3D was just cool. I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
But yeah, why don't we toss it back to you guys obviously I have not played any Elden Ring in the Souls games. They're just not for me. Like you might find me like digging into something like Tunic or something like Death's Door that kind of like borrows some of that like difficulty and some of that like, I don't know, some of that formula or format over. You might find me checking out stuff like that, but yeah, I'm probably not going to be digging into the Souls stuff. But now that you've had a chance, I know Randall's kind of dug into his like opening kind of spoiler-free thoughts on Elden Ring. What are you thinking on that so far? Now that and how's it playing on the PS4 for that matter, John?
That's specifically what I wanted to start with.
I'm curious.
The fact that I am playing it on PS4. And there are some limitations on that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I said this before or said it to you or something, but somebody had tweeted like, oh, I'm playing Elden Ring on PS4, and it's basically like I'm playing in stop motion animation.
Yes.
Which is intense. I don't think it's quite that bad, or I wouldn't imagine, but
there are specific areas in the game where there are, you know, you'll come across an area where there are hordes of enemies fighting against other hordes of enemies, and that is where the biggest slowdown happens. Like it really does, like suddenly, like, but the thing is, like, the frame rate of the characters, like the battle animations are like is the only thing that's sacrificed. The game itself doesn't slow down. You are still attack. I think your player character is still like running at full speed. But
hey, well, there you go.
It's okay. Wild. How like the hitboxes are. I'm guessing probably still the same. Maybe they're not. Maybe the enemy hitboxes are, you know, skipping frames and such. But like honestly, like the playing it is the thing that they have like prioritized in that.
Yeah.
Like, the gameplay doesn't slow down.
Yeah.
And it's just presentation. And, you know, for me, I don't care about that. That doesn't
right.
Like, I will say, like, I think Dark Souls Remastered on Switch ran a little bit better than this does on PS4.
Oh boy.
But
it's actually pretty impressive. I mean, I know it's obviously a totally kind of next gen game, but still like pretty impressive that that's saying something about the remastered.
Yeah, I think they're both like perfectly like good versions of the game. If you're not, you know, someone who is really picky about frame rate or you know, textures that like if you teleport to an area and like you know, sometimes it'll take a few minutes for the grass to like load in and be like affected with the rain and the wind. But honestly, the biggest thing that I would say is, I don't know, a frustration due to like hardware limitations is just load times. And
oh geez, sure.
I don't know what it's like on I think I was texting with DJ when I was going up against Margit. And I was like, the worst part about this fight is that I die and then I have to leave the like loading screen to be for a full minute.
It's brutal.
And like, especially when you just come off of like a high on like, a death in a boss battle.
Yes.
Like
your adrenaline's going crazy. Yeah.
That was the worst
part. Is just like, I'm like, I want to go. I know what I need to do. Just let me do it again. And I'm like, and like, it ruined my flow with it so much.
Because you're losing your muscle memory by like the second at that point. Like,
and you even, I don't know if you get this as well, but like whenever a game like takes like a little longer than I feel like it should to load or save or whatever, I'm like, did it freeze?
Yes.
Did it freeze? Like, am I going to lose that progress? Like, I just start panicking.
And I'll say, like, I think that this is, you know, I'm looking back on it. I think it's always in retrospect. I'm always, you know, a little bit more heated when I'm coming off of a failure. But I remember texting DJ and being like, Margit is the worst Dark Souls boss. Like Ornstein and Smoke were not even close to this unfair. Like, it's like, it just comes too early in the game. And like looking back on it.
To be fair, you are not incorrect in that observation.
It's so early in the game, and there's
very
so
early
many things that.
But this is a little more open, right? Like you can kind of take on different bosses, at least from what Randall was saying last time.
Yes, but it still comes in like. I also like. I don't want to like get too deep into spoilers, and like I also don't want to like I don't know how far Randall and I have been like very closed mouthed about this, which I appreciate because it means that we're not spoiling each other on it.
Yeah,
but like I also don't want to like I don't want to spoil stuff for you, Randall. But like I would say,
you've played like how much have you played so far? / like how far would you say? How would you think you are into the game?
So I'm level 78 and I'm 70 hours into the game.
Jesus Christ. Nice I have no frame of reference, but still.
So Randall, what are you?
I think I'm like 64, 65 level, and I'm not sure what my hours are at this point. Probably like early 60s hours, somewhere in there.
And it's pretty comparable in the way John grinds, like maybe a little more than Randall does. You guys are probably roughly around the same spot. Like,
I've grinded a shit ton in this game, though.
Like, but this like game also, there's a whole nother level of psychology on how I approach these games, and I wouldn't say that I'm approaching this game like I approach a Dark Souls game.
Interesting.
I would say that I'm approaching this game way more like I would Skyrim or when I've like replayed Breath of the Wild.
Give me the deets on what that distinction means to you.
Yeah.
That
I'm
distinction,
trying to think of what that means as well.
So it's actually the thing that I associate this with I guess it is kind of how I played Dark Souls 3, where, Dark Souls 2 and 1 are way more narrow. And oh man, we were talking about this a little bit in the Discord, how like I feel like the first half of Dark Souls 1 is a completely different game from the second half of Dark Souls 1. And I think that every sequel to Dark Souls is just the second half of the first Dark Souls. And it approaches the level design completely differently, because the first half of Dark Souls is, very close, like quarters level design and creating shortcut loops. And everything you have to just go from point A to point B. Yep. And the second half of Dark Souls is once you have the Lord Vessel and you can teleport from bonfire to bonfire.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
I didn't make it that far.
Yeah. But that
no wonder why I stopped
changes how you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It completely changes how they design levels then, because it's then ceases to be a matter of finding shortcuts and creating these loops that you can like go between areas faster, and it becomes make it through this gauntlet to get to the next bonfire.
Yeah. Did subsequent games then just let you teleport right off the bat from bonfire to bonfire?
Yes, right from the first two bonfires you get in every other Dark Souls game, like you can warp to.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Jeez. Interesting.
Okay, well, all right. That opens up my capabilities to play some other Dark Souls games.
I definitely do like the idea of like getting it midway through the game, like as far as how much more rewarding that would feel as opposed to just getting it. But I also see the approach of being
once you get it, that's such.
You had it at the end of 1, like. How are we going to take it away from them in 2?
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing that everybody can play. Oh, every Metroid game starts off with, you have all your powers. Oh, they all got taken away. Like, it's that same, like, kind of conundrum.
Right.
Yeah. So, like, that is how I feel Elden Ring also, like, kind of approaches it. But the thing that Dark Souls 3 let you kind of do is the areas were way more open and, like, a little bit more breathing room between things. And if you were not as good at the Dark Souls series like me, thing that you could do if you either had a feeling or looked at a map and knew exactly where the next bonfire was, you could just sprint like hell past everything and just be like, all right, I'm faster than all these enemies. I can make it to the next bonfire. And that's what I've done in Elden
Ring. You can totally do that in Elden Ring. I've absolutely
especially
done
with a horse.
Yes.
That horse is fast.
Yes, very fast.
Oh, yes. So I've explored the map so much more, like in areas that I absolutely am one-shotted by just normal, like not even enemies, but wildlife.
Right.
Like areas that are so hostile to me that like the game is like giving everything is like, you shouldn't be here at this level. I'm like, I don't care. I'm getting a teleport point. I'm getting a site of grace.
Exactly. And sometimes that's close to a merchant or whatever that has cool rare shit that you can get earlier than you probably should have, and that's fun too.
Yep. So that's what I've been doing, honestly, more than most of like the critical path or the mainline story. And I've done I found a lot of side areas or dungeons. And like there's
caves and stuff. Yeah.
So when I say that, God, this was so many points to get back to the original point of Win Market, which is the first like real Dark Soul, like the real Dark Soul starts here. Boss of the game, and like it probably is 10% of the map, if that. Like there is so much more in this game than when you like. So there is no shortage of side dungeons and side content and optional bosses and other side quests that you could do before you face this boss. But like, there's so much more. Like oh my God.
Yeah, you're right. And up until about I don't know, maybe more than that, like 6 gameplay hours ago, that was a choke point for me too. Like where I had explored basically all of the bottom of the map in every regard and found everything and like grinded a shit ton when I could. And then like, because I tried Margit early, I'm like, oh my God. And I tried with like a buddy of mine and I'm like, oh my God, I'm a scrub and I'm embarrassed that we're doing this over and over and I suck. And like, no, I guess I'm going to keep grinding and finding other stuff and treating this like Breath of the Wild where I'm just going to explore or whatever. And then like levels and levels and hours later, I went back and then I like toppled Margit in like a couple of tries and like, oh sweet. And then boom. The like game opens up to me in a way that it hadn't before, that I didn't even realize what a choke point it was. I'm like, oh, okay.
There's so much. Like, oh my God, this game. And like, the content is never like overwhelming because you don't need to do any of it. Like, it's the same thing in any Dark Souls game. You don't need to do any side quests. You can just do the like critical path of main bosses and beat the game. Yeah. But like,
why would you do that though?
Now, how obvious is it? Why can't I say that? How obvious is it to like tell if you're like on a main path or if it's like something that's not necessary? Because like that's my main problem with these games that are kind of bigger is like I never know if I'm on the right track or if it's something like, oh, I should be doing this or oh, I can skip this. Like, and then it's basically just my brain just being like second guessing it and then just being like, oh, I better do everything just to be safe. And then I get, it just gets bogged down with too much stuff to do and I just never end up finishing the game. So,
I mean, the game does have a story where it like tells you like, oh, these are the main areas where the bosses will be. Here are the demigods of this game.
Although it's pretty purposely loose, which in a way that I appreciate.
Absolutely.
Okay. But it's kind of like Breath of the Wild I guess that way too, where like you'll know when you start like traversing into an area like John was talking about where you're gonna get one hit killed by stuff. You're like, okay, that's enough. I found one cool thing. I keep dying. This is way too oppressive.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to be here. Yeah, and I do tend to like that approach more than like as opposed to just if you're not gonna kind of have a linear path like Kirby does or whatever. I do like that approach of like, oh shit, there's a Lionel over there. Like I haven't had the best of luck with those things yet. Let me go there. Let me see what's over this way.
Exactly.
Also, in the very much like I do see a lot of comparisons to Breath of the Wild, but I really do feel like Skyrim is honestly the better comparison.
Okay.
Because I feel like the Catacombs, for instance. The Catacombs are a series of dungeons in Elden Ring that kind of all have the same setting and like architecture. Yeah. And it's, but they're all like different layouts and they're all in different areas.
I love those, by the way.
They're so good.
Oh, they're great. They're just little levels.
Yes.
They're great.
And like, that's the thing is that they are very bite-sized. And it's all, so that there is like, I mean, obviously like Breath of the Wild was influenced by Skyrim in how like the dungeons and temples were designed. Yeah. And like, so the temples or these in Breath of the Wild and the like dungeons in Skyrim were these, much smaller scale, but like self-contained like areas and that had puzzles or different enemy types that were like specific to that area.
Kind of like a singular concept or two like put together and like, okay, solve this. And that's just it. Yeah.
But like also much more bite-sized than say like a full-on dungeon. Whereas in Breath of the Wild, you had like the divine beasts and those were the main dungeons of the game. Right. And like there are those areas in Elden Ring as well. Like
definitely.
The Stormvale Castle is like where you like that's the first one, and suddenly you're where you were having one site of grace, like suddenly you're having like 10 like clustered in such a small area. But it's also very similar to how traditional Dark Souls dungeons were laid out, where it's like, okay, here is something with multiple layers, or like, okay, there's like 4 floors of this one area as opposed to this wide open thing or a small self-contained dungeon. So like all of the main bosses are in areas like that, where it's like, no, this is where the Dark Souls level design is really in like these major huge landscapes, and they're impossible to miss, because in a world that is full of like, oh, here's like a huge like rock face, or here's a like giant lake, and then here is a city that is 5 times the size of any other thing. Like you can see it from the other side of the map,
which is so
that
cool.
is going to be the next big area.
It's so cool.
It's so. This is a gorgeous game.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm curious because I keep hearing everybody saying, like, touting, and obviously it's like a visually impressive game, but to me, every time I see screenshots, it's very like just gray and brown. I've seen a couple where I've been like, oh, that looks pretty cool. Like there was somebody posted a shot that it was like there was some kind of like almost like star system above, but they were like, this is inside of a cave. Yeah. And it was like, oh, that is pretty cool. Like, especially I can imagine like if you're exploring, oh, what's in here? And you're just like, whoa, there's like another universe in this cave. I could totally see that being exciting, but like it does have kind of a drab look from what I've seen. Even when I see like clips of the game in action, I'm just kind of like perplexed why people are like, I mean, people get excited about the Dark Souls games too, but it seems like people were really like, this is something new and special, like in a way that they kind of didn't for Sekiro, even though people loved that game as well. And to me, it kind of does just look like more of the same, but with a horse. But I'm just kind of curious as to like what is the main draw and appeal, other than it's just more of what people like from the series, if you will.
I think it's just like it's massive, and there are so many spots that are just open plains, and there are so many spots that are just here's the poison swamp. Like, some of it,
and Dark Souls is more contained. Yeah, there's more
big
like
time more
rooms,
contained.
And that's a good point.
So I just think that there's like a ton more option or more chances that you're just going to get like here's a generic looking like field, and then you are going to get like here is just some ungodly amount of beauty or horror. And like usually like within seconds of each other. Like, yeah,
absolutely.
You're just gonna get the full gamut.
Yeah, and you collect little items along the way that then you can craft into other shit, and that's fun in and of itself.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I've got my fletched arrows, the smolder wing butterflies. I always turn into fire arrows.
You got to, so you can make all your fire stuff. See, I went bolts though. I'm using the the crossbow.
I chose arrow in Dark Souls 1, and I can play the exact like incantations are pyromancy, just with way more like elements, which I'm in love with.
Lots of incantations in this game. God, I'm leaning more into that over time, even though I started heavy with my wand with the glintstone arc, but I'm going way more incantations as time goes on.
Yeah, incantations is I love it.
It's sweet.
Okay. I don't know, spoilers. Did you get a spell book from defeating a knight?
Oh boy, so much has happened.
It's just a single knight wandering in the overworld.
Maybe, yes. I kind of... Is he close to a cliff?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I did.
You got the lightning bolts?
Yeah.
Oh my god. As soon as I got that, I was like, thank God I finally have a lightning spell. Like, because pyromancy in the previous games was always just fire, sometimes physical, and sometimes like dark, and nothing else, like poison. You would get poison, and like now it's like actually every element, like because it's not linked to the name pyromancy. It's finally just like incantations. You can do anything. So it's the fact that you can do literally every type of spell in it.
Including like protecting yourself from healing yourself from poison, or making yourself quiet and making yourself not die from falls, and like all kinds of different things, protecting yourself from magic damage or whatever, like all kinds of stuff, fire damage.
What summon do you use?
I've got the it's just like the basic like finger seal thing.
Oh, not the like the ashes for summoning.
Oh gosh. I've got a bunch of those. There's one that I just got that's like a beefier dude that I had to up my FP a bunch to be able to launch in the first place.
Yes.
I can't remember the name, but like I'm like, oh no, this one's sick. It's got a long health bar, and like, let's do that, because I put most of my flask allocations into magic just to be like, okay, let's really lean into that.
Oh, I went full bore into the weapon that replenishes my FP.
Oh man, I need to find that bad.
even if it's weaker, like it does. Like just the fact that I'm like, oh, you can also swap. Oh man, God,
I've been waiting for something like that.
Oh, there's only like a few. So
yeah.
like there's a dagger, there's an axe, and there's like, but the dagger you need to land a critical hit to do it. Where the axe is just you just have to kill an enemy with it and then replenish FP. There's a few others, but I was again lucky because I've always played as an axe character in every single game. So I was like, hell yes, I can do my exact build from Dark Souls 3 like down to like the exact loadout. It's
and it benefits you to do so.
Oh, it's such a good
to have a little bit of that familiarity.
Oh, that's sick.
What a fucking
so how far would you guys say you are, like, if you had to guess, like, percentage-wise through, like, the main campaign or story?
I know I'm easily less than half still. Easily.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Easily.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing is that we're both at a point where I think we could just be focusing solely on, trying the next mainline boss and doing that until we like run our heads against it
just
and
chug away.
Right. Yeah. But like we want to enjoy this game.
Yes.
So we're doing a bunch of just exploring and finding cool shit, which is
half the time that's the fun of like, but we've been talking about Breath of the Wild a lot.
Yes.
Like I still haven't beaten that game. My favorite part of the game was just like, ooh, is that a shrine over there?
100%.
Oh, okay. Oh, is that a mountain peak over there? I wonder if I'd glide. I haven't been over there. Let me glide over there. And I wonder what I'll see. Like, so even just knowing that, if it just has like a map of that scale, like we don't get too many games that have a scale of that magnitude. I mean, there are quite a few of them these days, but at least, and especially us, we're not playing like all the AAA stuff that comes out for the most part. So like, it's really just the stuff that resonates with us here and there. So, I don't know. It's kind of exciting because I guess you've played most of the Dark Souls stuff, but it just kind of, I don't know. It doesn't strike me as like, these are the types of games that and I know I'm not playing them, but I don't know. It just doesn't strike me as like, hey, we're going to be talking about Elden Ring on the podcast. And it has me kind of excited that it's like, there's enough cool stuff going on that like both of you guys are hooked into this one. Like there's a reason why people are hyped on it.
Yeah. I honestly think I'm 25% of the way through the game.
That's what it feels like.
There's oh man,
and you're at like 70 hours, you said. And again, I know you're
taking
a little
my
more
time,
methodical, but geez,
he's grinding his levels so that he can topple shit over and feel it. That's how I felt like
about it.
Oh my god, I killed Margit. Now I can like blow through the rest of like Stormville or whatever and like see the other side. And oh my god, I'm like over leveled for this, and that feels awesome just to explore without being one hit killed.
Yeah, like exploring without the threat.
Yeah.
But even
there's
that
always a
first
threat,
area, like there is like a couple corridors where you're like, oh, what's down here? And then you find an enemy that can one hit you. Yeah. Like it's just like, oh, there's even within this area that I've beaten. Like there is a secret, and there's a thing that I will have to come back just like 100 hours later.
Yep.
And like there's no shortage of that in the first area. Like the very first area, there's a lake named after a dragon. And like I was like, I feel like I can take that dragon now. I feel like I can go back to that first area.
Ready.
I took that dragon out.
Oh, same.
Nice.
It's so good. Oh my god.
I was like, whoa, I actually did that. That was like, I just kind of dicked around. It was like, it's late at night. Let's just give this a shot. Why not? I'm not going to lose many runes. It's fine. Let's go.
Wow.
That's
the other thing for me is that so many of them, I'm like I know that there's a boss here. Let me bail out and like make my way back here after I've spent all my runes or leveled up one last time. And like it's just so much easier in this, like because there's so much more to do and there's so many other things you can do in the meantime that you can't just be like, all right, I made my way through this dungeon. I have the boss here. I can go and like not lose my entire I'm not going to like have to be like, I've got nowhere else to go. Like we're gonna be talking about this game for like another 2 months.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get DJ on one of these days to chat some Elden Ring and Dark Souls.
We'll
with
get
us,
into the
like
real nitty gritty.
Well, yeah, you and he definitely have like some deep, like you've played pretty much all of them, right? For the most part,
Except
like I don't think
for
you've played
Demon
Sekiro.
Souls and Sekiro.
Okay, you have played Bloodborne.
I have played Bloodborne. I'm so bad at Bloodborne. Like
I'm terrible. I played it for like 2 seconds. I couldn't even get out of the tutorial.
Yeah, like I honestly think that Father, oh God, I don't remember what Garcion, I think is his name. Like that is actually, I think, the worst Dark Souls boss because it literally is in the opening area and like you have to die to him once to unlock leveling up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just had a weird like structure to it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
very
like,
bizarre.
I mean,
confusing.
That's the thing that they've done since Dark Souls 2 that I really don't like, where you can't level up right off the bat. And I'm like, that would be a mechanic that I would really like from the get-go. And
although, to be fair, in Elden Ring, I totally missed going in the tutorial direction when I started that game, which seems like a common experience.
Yes, that is a common experience. Oh my God. And how the tutorial area has a... we need to stop talking. We need to end this episode. But like the tutorial area has a like puzzle, like a not a whatchamacallit, like a combat segment, but it has a physical like timing puzzle that you need to just like make your way through, and like it's not really platforming, but you do have to navigate it, and like it has
these are all the motions of your character, right?
But the environment one hit kills you, and there's you can't take it down, so you just have to successfully navigate it. But it's in the opening area of the game, and I'm like, oh, this is too hard for me right now.
Those are the parts of like Dark Souls that I would see DJ playing when we lived together, and like he'd be just like tiptoeing across these like planks, like while these like axes are swinging back and forth. I'm like, this just looks so tedious, especially the way DJ plays, just tiptoeing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm never gonna play these games.
Someone put it best on Twitter where it's like, there is a certain Looney Tunes logic to Dark Souls where every death is completely fair in Dark Souls, except when it's really hilarious. Like, yes, when you're walking through a forest and just a dozen wolves fall from the sky. And
why not?
It's like, fuck, you got me.
You got me, Miyazaki. Yeah. Well, before we wrap it up tonight, I did want to ask you guys, since I feel like we just kind of went through Kirby so quick, but did you guys have any favorite power-ups in that game? Or a favorite power-up? For me, I went with like the Needler almost every time, like the Porcupine Needler. Or the like pencil drill. I don't know if I ever upgraded it to the 3rd tier, but like the drill where you... no, I did upgrade it to the 3rd tier, but you go like underground.
Yeah, it's fun.
And like burrow underground and then like dig up from underneath the enemies. Like those were kind of my 2 go-to, especially the Porcupine Needle. I just like went to town on some of those bosses with that. You could just like cheese the hell out of them. But did you guys have any favorite power-ups? Because Randall, I know you and I were like, oh, there's no UFO power-up in this game. That was one of the things that we missed.
I like the fire upgrade to the dragon thing, and then like the bosses catch on fire and do fire damage, which is a kind of a cool effect.
Yeah,
that's fun. And then the bomb throws are kind of like bowling, which is kind of fun too.
Yeah, especially once you upgrade to like the chain bomb or whatever, and they kind of like connect and get like a chain reaction. Yeah.
Freeze, I always love, because I also just love like Kirby skating when you dash with freeze. It's just always such a good touch, especially when they incorporate it into like mechanics, like you can freeze the water that you're going on and that does certain puzzles. And also gun. Kirby
the Ranger was amazing. That sniping mechanic, that was so cool. Especially some of the puzzles around that mechanic were really cool.
All like the puzzles, even some of the set pieces, upgraded. Whirlwind is good. Tornado.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, because that also is back to like adventure controls where it's such a...
All the upgrades are really fun. Yeah, they did a really nice job of like, or all the power-ups and then their subsequent upgrades. It was just kind of weird, like, for me, like I was saying with the like Star Road stuff or whatever, Treasure Road, like it was just kind of like, I wish I could have been picking up some of those stars along the way, because I did feel like I just had to kind of like stop and like I just played it at a weird pace. I should have just like gone to the ones as they opened up, but I would just be like, nah, I just want to play the next level and move on. And then it's like, oh, now I got to go back and play like 6-star treasure levels in a row because I want to buy some of these upgrades.
I played them all as they opened up generally. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. And it's... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, a thing that I loved about playing multiplayer with Return to Dreamland specifically was that, especially if you were doing bosses and late game bosses or end game, post game, whatever, like the secret levels after you've 100%ed it and make it, or on hard mode even. I think I played through all of Return to Dreamland on hard mode, which was
nice.
Brutal. Yeah. But those bosses were great to do with multiplayer because you could have the multiplayer friends be Meta Knight, and they would always have a sword. So they couldn't lose their power-ups in a boss battle. Or you could be DDD and you'd always have hammer, or Bandana Waddle Dee and you always have spear.
Yeah.
And
it's big time.
So nothing worse than like taking damage on a boss and then like you're in a panic and you pick up your power up and spit it out real quick on accident. You're like, no, this boss is gonna take for fucking ever to kill now. Oh man, that happened to me a couple times. I was just like, I'm just gonna restart this boss. Yeah, let me go back and just get the power up going.
This tree is too mean to me.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I just felt like I was like, we didn't really like gush about or get into the nitty gritty with Kirby enough. So I was like, let's get a little more Kirby thoughts. But yeah, I think we can pretty much wrap up the games chat this week. And I don't know if we'll dig into more Kirby, but we'll certainly be digging into more Elden Ring in future weeks. And yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to dig deep. Maybe I'll play a Souls game one of these days, but I don't know, Sekiro one of these days.
I recommend
But yeah, as always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com, and we're all over the internet on every other platform that you can imagine pretty much. And otherwise, yeah, we can wrap it up there, and we'll catch you next week, and take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I think we got it all.
Oh, yeah.
Captured it all.
Yeah, I was just like I was looking at the timer. I was like, man, we only did like 15 minutes on Kirby. We gotta give a little more Kirby love here.
So you guys hated it.
No,
I didn't hate it, but I loved it, but I just kind of forgot it. Like there's like that.
So much.
Yeah, we were talking about it over at our buddy Mikey's place. Just kind of like, or at least I was saying, like it's just kind of like games just come out.
Yep.
And unless they have the legs of like, oh, this game is like hundreds of hours or 100 hours of like Elden Ring or something. You're just going to plow through it in 8-10 hours or whatever, and then it's on to the next thing, you know?
If you do plow through it and beat it in the first place, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. I was surprised I was able to stay focused on that one, but it was just kind of like a good... I kept saying I was going to stream it, and then I was like, I'm just going to just play it.
I will beat Kirby. I'm going to beat Kirby.
And I plan on going back. I don't know if I'll 100% everything because I don't know how nitty gritty they are, but there's definitely some post game stuff that I was like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't need to get every last challenge and every last, every last hidden Waddle Dee.
Yeah.
Although I did try for the most part to find them all. And man, I really loved those mall stages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are some of the cooler, and the
music
was really cool too.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous
video game.